Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Rich. The name of the channel is Rich the Return Rider. For all you guys that's here for the first time, thanks for tuning in. For all you guys that's return viewers, I appreciate you coming back. For all you folks that have subscribed to the channel, I appreciate your support. For all you folks that haven't yet subscribed, guys, just hit the subscribe button below so we can continue to have some of these comments, these conversations. But anyway, guys, today is December 14th, 2021. I'm here in Lake City, Florida. We're going to be doing a ride through the downtown area of Lake City, giving you a little bit of views of Lake City. As we're riding through the downtown area, don't blink. It's not a lot to see. Small little town. And then we're going to do a ride out on 90 that actually connects to the 75 coming in, where we have the, more of the Home Depots, the Walmarts, the more of the biggest stores and so forth. I've always heard folks up north talk about the reason they won't live in the south is because they don't have a change of seasons. I want you guys to take a look around, and you're going to see my tree here dropping leaves and the grass starting to brown. And, we do have evidence here, guys, of the fall season, the change of seasons. And, the only difference is we also have weather here that can it's kind of warm enough for us to sustain some of the activities and stuff that we like to do. So, guys, without further ado, we're going to take a ride today. We're going to talk about a question that a good friend of mine asked me when I first bought this motorcycle. I've owned a motorcycle now a little over a year and a half. And, he fell in love with the way the motorcycle looked, just like I did the first time I saw it. And his question was, is the Suzuki Boulevard M109R a good beginner's motorcycle? So, without further ado, guys, let's take a little ride, and we're going to have a conversation about that. So, is the Suzuki Boulevard M109R a good first-time motorcycle or a good beginner's motorcycle? Now, when he asked that question, at the time I answered yes. I took into consideration that I haven't rode motorcycles in 20 plus years. It's the motorcycle that I returned to riding with, and if I can do it, so can he. But in all honesty, guys, that probably was not an honest assessment of how I should have answered that question, because I did have years of experience riding in the mid to late 1990s. So I'm not really a beginner's rider. I'm actually more of what we refer to as a return rider. Hence the name of the channel. So, having some kind of experience of riding motorcycles in the past, and in his case, he does not ride. He has never rode a motorcycle. So, there's going to be probably a little bit of a different approach to how he would be getting into something like this, as opposed to me that already had experience riding. Now, in saying that, guys, for the 20 plus years that I have now owned a motorcycle, well, at one point I did own what I refer to as a dirt bike, but it was more of a Honda Enduro 250. And with that motorcycle, like I said, I had a little bit more property than I had now, and I used it primarily as a dirt bike. Sold it years ago as I was delving into that go-karting scene. But, even with the dirt bike still had the same kind of controls as our average motorcycle does. So, probably not the, the correct answer, but we'll talk a little bit about different people's opinions on what your first motorcycle should be. I did watch a video, I think with the guy called himself Dreadhead or something, that does go into the M109R being his first motorcycle, and I guess sharing his experience. And I gotta tell you guys, even with my experience in the past, the first time I rode this motorcycle, it was quite intimidating. The motorcycle is 700 plus pounds of motorcycle. It's 128 horsepower with 118 foot-pounds of torque, as advertised. It's a pretty sensitive throttle. And the first time I test rode the motorcycle, or test rode one of these motorcycles, it was not the smoothest operation of someone that, that looked like they've been riding for years. Now, in saying that, I've been given an opportunity to ride one of my co-workers' old BMW, a motorcycle that he bought for his son. He was a Harley owner. Purchased a motorcycle for his son so his son could get out and do some riding with him. His son was out of state at the time. And, offered me the opportunity to ride that BMW, that older version of a BMW. And guys, I had absolutely no problem riding that motorcycle. I kind of felt like, hey, it's like a bicycle, man. You never forget how to ride. But in saying that, I was also given the opportunity on another occasion to ride an R1 motorcycle and a Ducati. And when I got on those motorcycles, guys, it was a whole different experience. The skills I felt like I once had, seemed to be minimal. Again, powerful motorcycles, very twitchy throttles. Again, another intimidating motorcycle. The Ducati was full of torque. I remember the R1 also feeling like it was really powerful. Now, on a different occasion, I have gotten, while I was in Orlando, to ride a co-worker of mine, VMAX. Same kind of experience. None of those bikes felt like that BMW. When I started looking for these motorcycles, one of the options was going to be the V-Rod. Had the opportunity to ride the V-Rod. I think they refer to that one as the V-Rod Muscle. And again, man, massive power and, sensitive throttle and pretty intimidating motorcycle. But I knew my approach in getting back into riding was that I still had the basic skills of knowing what I needed to do. I was going to purchase the motorcycle that I wanted. I was going to go to a parking lot. I've been watching a lot of videos of folks that were suggesting going to a parking lot. In one video, one guy was cutting tennis balls in half to set up what would be a cone course. And then that's the approach I was going to take. Now, on the day that I purchased this motorcycle, guys, sales negotiations went on from probably 11 a.m. to somewhere in the evening close to rush hour. And after I purchased this motorcycle, I knew there's no way in hell I was going to ride this motorcycle from Ocala to Lake City, which is an hour and a half away, in rush hour traffic to bring it home. I had my truck with me on that day. I went to Tractor Supply. I bought some ramps. And even the task of loading it on the truck was intimidating. The sales rep actually loaded the motorcycle on the truck for me. They wouldn't do any kind of tie downs and so forth, so I had to tie the motorcycle or secure the motorcycle down. guys, when I bought the motorcycle home and I unloaded it off the truck and I took a little ride through the neighborhood and my wife saw me riding the motorcycle, she immediately asked, well, what's wrong with the bike? Why is it, jerking and doing that? And I had to explain to her, I got to get used to the motorcycle, and that it really wasn't the motorcycle, it was her husband just wasn't a smooth operator. So, one of the first signs that the motorcycle was going to be a big challenge to handle. Guys, we're now approaching the downtown area here of Lake City. As soon as we cross these train tracks, I think it's going to be official. We're here at downtown Lake City. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to see. There's the courthouse you're going to see on the left and so forth down here. Used to be a hospital here that actually closed down. But anyway, guys, so yeah, I took the motorcycle to load it on a 5x8 trail I had, hooked it up in the back of my truck. It was around the beginning time of the pandemic. A lot of the schools were closed, so I went to a parking lot. And I practice as much as I can in the parking lot before I decide to do a advanced safety class that was offered by by Jacksonville, the town of Jacksonville. And guys, when I took that class along with multiple other riders, some of them having decades of riding experience, the one thing that was clear that day was that I knew nothing about riding a motorcycle. If you want to test your skills, guys, on the left-hand side here now is the courthouse. If you want to test your skills on the ability to be able to ride a motorcycle, take a slow speed or slow advance, one of those slow motorcycle classes. These classes are becoming pretty popular. We have the Ride Like a Pro with Jerry Palladino. This guy calls himself Motorman. Guy trained motor officers on the skills and techniques to stay safe on the street, slow speed maneuvers, total control. Also, Robert Simmons Paying It Forward is the name of the channel. This guy is also a retired motor officer from the New York region, 15 plus years of experience. This guy has up to 30-something videos right now teaching the techniques that a motor officer will learn, before he is, before he can be safely put on the streets to operate a motorcycle. Who else to better learn from than someone that makes their career on these motorcycles? But anyway, guys, like I said, the one thing that class taught was how little I knew about riding a motorcycle. And it was a humbling experience, not only for me, but everyone else that attended that class. Some of the guys there with some pretty nice, expensive Harleys. Some of them had bought their spouses or were out with their spouses on some Sportsters and so forth. A couple of people that weren't even able to attempt the class, or the techniques, because they were just so intimidated by the motorcycles they rode. So, again, one of the things that I thought about, well, let's talk about different expert opinions on this topic. What should be your first motorcycle? I don't want to misquote anyone, but I'm going to talk about different opinions from different folks on the topic. From my buddy Robert Simmons Paying It Forward now, like I said, this guy is a retired motorcycle lieutenant from the New York area. Clearly explained that his first experience in riding a motorcycle was when he joined the motorcycle training squad. And his opinion, that I guess would be answering similar to mine when I first was asked the question, was to buy the motorcycle that you want, the motorcycle that you like, do the classes, practice as much as you can, learn the basics and the techniques, and the motorcycle doesn't matter. Now, he did explain his struggles as he was learning to ride a motorcycle when he was in the police training class. And he says that on the 4th day of the training, he refers to it as a light bulb going off, where he started to buy into the things that they were trying to drill into his head on the techniques of operating a motorcycle. And I guess once he bought into those techniques, everything else came pretty easy with exercise and practice. So like I said, his opinion is buy the motorcycle you want instead of buying a motorcycle, selling and buying again. And you know, that is fair. I mean, I'm not gonna say he was wrong, but let's look at that from his approach. The first motorcycle, again, that he learned to ride on, like the M109R, would be a big Road King. Another big and powerful motorcycle by Harley Davidson. I'm sure that motorcycle is going to have drop guards on it. But the key thing that I'm going to take from that is the fact that the motorcycle that he is going to be learning on is not his own personal motorcycle. So the fear of dropping it is not going to be the same as if it was a motorcycle that he purchased with his money for 19 or 20 grand. I think that's the price that I saw on a 2021 Road King, and the similar price also on the Suzuki Boulevard M109R. The other thing is that he's going to be under constant tutoring and instructions of professionals teaching him the correct operation of a motorcycle on a daily basis. The average person that buys a motorcycle is not going to have the access to that same kind of daily training. The motorcycle that he's probably going to be learning on after he does that MSF class is going to be a motorcycle. And again, I don't ever recommend buying a new motorcycle for your first motorcycle. If you're going to learn to ride a motorcycle and do the classes, which you should, you're going to drop that motorcycle. So having the protective guards, having a motorcycle that you don't have a fear of dropping, is all going to come into play, guys, on a decision that should be made. This is my opinion, and this is the opinion of other experts. So again, the approach that he had to learning to ride a motorcycle is going to be a little different to most. Unless, again, they're police officers in the academy also, or they're willing to take extensive training before they take these motorcycles out in the, in the streets among traffic. Now, from the likes of a different professional with a different opinion, we have a guy that refers to himself as MC Rider, or his channel is called MC Rider, I should say. And his name is Kevin, and he's a motorcycle instructor coach out of the Texas area. I think he says Fort Worth. Thank you, man. I think he says Fort Worth. And his deal is you buy a lighter, cheaper, more inexpensive motorcycle that you're not going to be afraid to drop. And that you can get away with some of the, some of the techniques when you foul, and it's probably less intimidating for you. His deal is, get on Craigslist or something, buy a used motorcycle. Chances are, after you ride it for a year or so, when you learn the techniques and you practice, you'll probably be able to get almost the same price for the motorcycle that you paid for it. But he thinks it's important that you, again, learn the techniques on a smaller, less powerful motorcycle. Jerry Palladino, Ride Like a Pro. Guy got tons of videos out again, like I said. Also does training sessions to teach the average civilian, the motor officer techniques. And again, he's got a video out there showing a guy in a big old expensive Harley on the cone course that he teaches, struggling to do the basic techniques. I think at one point of the video they showed the guy dropping the motorcycle and teaching the guy how to pick the motorcycle up. And I think he even recommended for that guy to go back and take the basic safety class before he, and practice before he comes back and do the advanced class. So, again, guys, different opinions from different folks, none of them wrong. Now, my opinion, I'm going to give my opinion, of course, the least important of those opinions. But like I said, a lot of things on this video, guys, is going to be based on my experience, nothing professional. But I think it has to do with the individual, his maturity level. Again, is it going to be somebody that is willing to learn to ride the motorcycle, before they get out in traffic? Like I said, my only suggestion, again, is not to buy something new, because, the fear of dropping it I think is going to hamper your ability to want to learn to practice and do all the things that you need to learn to do to be safe on this beast. Now, in saying that, one of the things that I'm going to throw in there is if you're not physically able to pick the motorcycle that you're buying up, then you probably shouldn't be riding that motorcycle. It's one thing to be out in a busy area where if you drop the motorcycle and it's too heavy, even after you apply the correct techniques to pick the motorcycle up, and you can't physically pick that motorcycle up, then it's clearly too much motorcycle for you. Because if you're in a crowd or something like that, I'm sure somebody will help you pick the motorcycle up. But let's think about being out in some remote location where you drop the motorcycle, you're making a U-turn or something to that effect. You drop the motorcycle, there's no one around to help you pick the motorcycle up. And, you're pretty much stranded. I knew a female that owned this motorcycle. And when she got rid of the motorcycle and she bought a Harley, a smaller version of a Harley. And I asked her, hey, what happened to the M109R? She said her daughter was out one day riding. She dropped the motorcycle at an intersection, and it took both of them to pick the motorcycle up. I think somebody else assisted them in picking the motorcycle up. And she said that's when she knew she had to get rid of the motorcycle. She didn't talk about the power or anything of the motorcycle. She just spoke of how heavy the motorcycle was for her. She came from riding sports bike. Sports bikes, she wasn't exactly a rookie. But again, if you can't physically pick the motorcycle up, it's definitely too much motorcycle. Now, like I said, I am a return rider. I saw this motorcycle. I knew I would get out and I learned to ride it. I'm constantly taking classes. I go out randomly and practice operating the motorcycle just for the safety factor of it. But if I was a beginner rider and I knew all the things I knew about this motorcycle that I know now, it would definitely not be my first motorcycle. The first motorcycle I got into, I bought a 600 ZX 600 Ninja, or 650, whatever it was. And at the time, because of my size, there were lots of people that were advising me to either buy a 900 or 1100. I took some advice of a very smart person at the time that told me to buy the smaller motorcycle, learn to ride on it, and then, you can buy whatever motorcycle you want after, and that's what I did. I had no problem selling that motorcycle to get the 900 RF that I wanted. And, one of the things that I'm going to say is once you learn the techniques, Robert Simmons is absolutely right. The motorcycle really doesn't matter. I remember being at his class, and he was teaching me and another guy that owned the Boulevard a technique that he was that we were doing, and we were both complaining about the sensitivity of the throttle. I think he was trying to make U-turns with the motorcycle, or we were supposed to make U-turns with the motorcycle, having the motorcycle completely upright. And, gave him the motorcycle to execute the technique, and he did it flawlessly. And he just proved to us that the motorcycle really doesn't matter. All of the stuff we were complaining about the twitchy throttle and so forth, was pretty much all in our minds. But, after I saw him do that, I never really complained much as I was practicing with this motorcycle about that twitchy throttle. You will always hear me mention it, because it's not the twitchiness, it's the power of the motorcycle. That's personally what I believe. And if you buy that kind of power, then you need to learn to be able to control and curb it. So, is the Suzuki Boulevard M109R a good beginner's motorcycle? My opinion on that right now is going to be, if I had to do it all over again as a return rider, I'm buying it. Love this motorcycle. I learned to ride it. I'm pretty confident. Not overconfident. I mean, you could never get too confident on these motorcycles. I would purchase it again. No problem. Now, if it was my first motorcycle and I didn't know how to ride, and this is the motorcycle I was being introduced to, I definitely won't purchase a motorcycle this size, this power, and this intimidating. So, that's my spiel, guys. Rich, the return rider, out. Don't care what you ride, guys. Get out, practice, do those classes. Again, practice. And don't care what you ride, man. Get out, ride, have a good time, and stay safe. Rich, the return rider, out.